Oh, there are more of y'all now than when I sat down. Okay. Hi, everybody. Once again, my name is Mariatu. Thank y'all for being here this morning. My eyes quickly flicker across the smooth emerald binding of the passport, and a small frown settles across my face. My mother's passport, with its dark coloring and golden swirly lettering, does not look like my own. Mommy, I say, my voice soft and curious, something's wrong with yours. At 4, I wasn't old enough to read and therefore could not see that the name of the nation plastered across the front of her passport did not, in fact, say United States of America. My mother continued to stir the large pot of cassava, peanut butter, and whatever meat she'd been able to pick up at the farmer's market. As per usual, she was only half listening to me, her mind working a mile a minute. "How's that?" she hummed. Walking over to her, I held the 2 passports up side by side to show her. "They made yours the wrong color." How would she be able to visit Auntie Tamu and Uncle Rashid in Dubai if her passport was the wrong color? We needed to call the passport people immediately and demand the correct passport book. "No, honey, it's the right color," I gasped. "So mine is the wrong color?" My mother laughed again. "Remember when I told you about Grandma and Grandpa and Freetown and Frobe?" I nodded. "Do you remember when I told you about my childhood in Sierra Leone?" That was all cute and whatever, but I was failing to see how this had anything to do with my passport being the wrong color. She then crouched down low so that we were at eye level. "Mine is special because I'm from a different place," she said. It wasn't until the 1st grade that my mother finally explained what this meant. I was Black, yes, but I was different. I was first gen, a native foreigner who was a swirling mix of cultures, dialects, languages, and beliefs. Earlier that day, I had tried to comfort a friend who had been coughing. At 6, I didn't realize that to utter a simple phrase such as "kasam kasam," or "I'm sorry for your cough" in my mother's native tongue, that I had somehow crossed the line and stepped into the land of impropriety and otherness. The girl I had sought to comfort turned her eyes on me, twisted her mouth, and informed me that my words meant nothing. They were nonsense words, not English, and not worthy of her time. Again, I approached my mother in confusion. Again, she reminded me of her homeland and how we were different, how we came from a place far, far away, and that Chloe, yes, I'm using her name, Chloe, didn't understand, but that was okay because I was special. We were special. Fast forward to middle school, and I'm fasting for the first time. My mother had assured me that since it was my first Ramadan, I could fast half a day because my body wasn't used to it yet. I had insisted that I was grown and I could do it. She just laughed and reminded me not to push myself too hard. I think it goes without saying that I do not look like the stereotypical Muslim, a fact I relished in for a large part of my life. Growing up in the South post 9/11, being an identifiable Muslim was scary and in some cases dangerous. As a Black woman, I could hide behind my skin, and as an African, I could hide behind the ignorance of others so that they would not know that my name was merely a derivative of Mariam, the Muslim name for Mary, and that every morning I stood beside my mother, shoulder to shoulder, and did my 2 rakats and counted my tasbiyah, or the Muslim prayer beads. But yes, I'm in middle school. I'm 12, and suddenly it's lunchtime. As a grown woman, I knew I needed to make a decision. I could sit in the lunchroom with my friends as they ate their chili fries and drank their milk, or steer myself away from temptation and go to the library and wait out the lunch period. I'm not one for torture, so I, of course, made a beeline for the library, but not before answering a barrage of questions from my friends. "Where are you going?" One asked. My reply, "It's Ramadan, so I can't eat today." Another scrunched up her face. "What's Ramadan?" Her question, though probably not intentional, made my heart beat fast. If I told them who I was, who I really was, a Muslim, would that change how they saw me? Would they still eat lunch with me once the month of fasting ended? Would they still be my friends? I decided then that it wasn't worth the risk. I swallowed down my guilt like a bitter pill, and I lied. Oh, it's an African thing. Fast forward to high school, and it's my 16th birthday. I, don't ask me why, had originally wanted a quince, but my mother had quickly shut that down. My aunt, cousin, niece, grandmother, and godmother, and several of my mother's closest friends were all huddled around me in the cramped bathroom of the hall where we had decided to host my Sweet 16. Everyone shouting in a mixture of English and Creole as they prepared me for my grand entrance. My godmother held a curling wand to the end of my hair as my mother urged me to suck in my stomach some more as she squeezed me into my obnoxiously fluffy dress, the color of Pepto-Bismol and covered in sequins. My cousin held my tiara in her hands as she waited for my godmother to add the finishing touches to my beachy waves. It was chaos, to say the least. Suddenly, my aunt clapped her hands and the voices halted. Through the mirror placed above the bathroom sink, my aunt and I locked eyes. "Clear the room," she demanded in her strong, accented voice. My aunt was 6 years older, 6 years my mother's senior, and outranked everyone else in the room. So, of course, when she said, "Clear the room," everyone knew to get to step in. Soon, she and I were the only ones who remained. "You are a woman now," she said. "There are things that you must confront, lessons you must learn, and struggles you must face." She sounded like Grandmother Willow, but it's fine. "Your mother has done all that she can, but now it is up to you to live the way she taught you to live." At 16, I had no idea what she meant. I was living the way I'd been taught to live. I made good grades, I made it home by curfew, I didn't drink, I didn't smoke, and I only talked back once every blue moon. When I came to college, though, everything finally made sense. My mother is one of the strongest people I know. She taught me to love hard, laugh loudly, work tirelessly, and most importantly, to live my life authentically. She taught me to be proud of who I am and where my people come from, to never apologize for my faith, and to always follow my gut. At 6, the world taught me that my native tongue was wrong, so I stopped speaking it. If spoken to in Creole, my response was always in English. At 12, I learned that telling a half-truth was just as bad as a lie, but felt 10 times worse. And at 16, I figured out that everyone else but me could see that I wasn't comfortable to simply be, just because I could. Instead, doing my best to latch on to another, more palatable culture to appease everyone else around me. Fast forward to today. I'm 21 and I'm about to graduate from college. I will not lie and say that I do not sometimes tense up when others hear me slip into Creole on a phone call with my mother, my breath stalling in my chest as I await their scorn. I will not lie and say that every time I tell someone that I am a Muslima, that I do not mentally prepare myself for a verbal battle, ready to defend myself and my religion. And I will not lie to you all and say that anytime I untwist my natural hair or repeat the slides and curves of my too African name, that I am not afraid of the judgment I will receive. But I am learning that it is all a part of the process. Each bit, each phrase, each kink, each curl makes me me. It is my authentic self, and it's not something that I can wipe away or easily forget. Thank you.